welcome to this special evening where we gather yearly with much gratitude to the Chamber to celebrate the work of remarkable individuals who make Winchester a truly exceptional community. Tonight we have the honor of Lance Grenzeback, whose dedication, passion, and self-contribution have had a lasting impact on our town. As we come together in this beautiful and very special venue for Winchester's town government, Right Log Farm, let us take a moment to reflect on the spirit of community and the power of collective and collaborative action. Lance, among all the past Citizen of the Year award recipients, has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to making Winchester a better place for all of us. Throughout the evening, we will hear inspiring moments of service, leadership, friendship, and planning. These moments in Lance's life remind us of the extraordinary potential within each of us to effect positive change within our community. So without further ado, let's begin our celebration and acknowledge the incredible achievements of this year's Citizen of the Year, Lance Grenzeback. To kick it off, Lance has been an incredible mentor to many in government, including our first presenter, Select Board Chair Michelle Pryor, and myself. Known for being collaborative, supportive, thoughtful, and slightly stubborn, Lance believes in bringing people together for the betterment of Winchester. On behalf of the Select Board, please welcome Chair Michelle Pryor.
There's a proclamation in here somewhere.
Can you sing?
No, I'm not going to sing. That was Sally Quince's of the year. There it is. Thank goodness. I had one job, right? Don't use this thing. So, truth be told, Joan Grenzeback is the first Grenzeback that I knew back in the 1980s, 1990s, and she worked with my dad in the call. I didn't know who Lance was until I joined FinCom and town meeting. So, and my favorite Lance story is I was just a citizen, I think. 2017, Lance might have been chair of select board, certainly on select board, and Wade Welch had retired, so we were going to go out to bid for a new town council. So the select board got to nominate random citizens to be part of the search committee, and I learned that in a newspaper article from the Star that I was selected to serve in the committee. And I reached out to Lance and said, do I have you to thank for this? And he said, yes. So, Lance, we have a State of the Town committee and a tax committee, so I'm going to enjoy returning the favor to you. So with that, I want to read out this well-hidden proclamation from the town of Winchester. Be it hereby known to all the members that the members of the Select Board hereby offer their most sincere congratulations to Lance Grenzeback in recognition of his many years of service to the Winchester community and selection as the 2025 Citizen of the Year. The entire board extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and combined success in all endeavors. Congratulations, Lance. Well deserved.
Back in 2010, I first met Lance working on the Master Plan Phase 1, not the Master Plan 2030. It was in this work alongside the other planning board members I saw Lance as one of the best collaborators in Winchester government. Fun fact, Senator Lewis worked alongside Lance and the planning board on the Winchester Master Plan Steering Committee for Phase 1 as a representative of the school committee. Another room where collaboration happened was a meeting downtown with the MBTA to advocate for additional funding needed by the MBTA to fund the Winchester station. Lance, the member of the select board alongside both Senator Lewis and Representative Day, stood beside many town leaders that day, and in true Lance fashion, we were early and had coffee, and some even had ice cream. The day was a success as the MBTA voted in favor of the extra money to continue with their project of our downtown train station. Please welcome Representative Mike Day and Senator Jason Lewis.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, everybody. I wanted to start by thanking Dana and Julie and all the members of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce for hosting this wonderful event again this year, and for all the work you do, every day to support the Winchester community. Thank you. I also want to thank the Right Lot Farm board and staff for offering us this wonderful venue tonight for the event. It's terrific to be here together. Thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to join you all to recognize and celebrate such a worthy recipient of the Winchester Citizen of the Year. As Heather mentioned, I've had the great privilege over the years to work with Lance and to see him in action on the planning board, and the master plan steering committee, the select board, and the Winchester train station. And I can certainly attest to his tireless efforts on behalf of the town, his analytical rigor, and his just great love of this community. And we're really indebted to him. I just wanted to mention to you, Lance, with all the work we've done on the Winchester train station, the T just called earlier this week and told us they're going to continue working indefinitely. So thank you and congratulations to Lance, to Joan herself, a Winchester powerhouse, and to all the members of the Grenzeback family. Congratulations. From the Massachusetts State Senate for this special occasion. Representative Day.
Thank you, Senator. Good evening, everyone. Waking them up, right? I'm always, this is kind of like a repeat. If you watch the Citizen of the Year Dinner Award when I speak, I always start with the same thing because it's accurate. The Chamber does it right, and they always get it right every year. We just saw the litany of folks that are here, present, and now obviously with Lance here. That truly is who Winchester is as a community. When people ask why Winchester is special, look down that list on the back of your programs of the Citizens of the Year, and that's why Winchester is special. And I want to take a moment just to acknowledge the passing of Jimmy Johnson recently as well, a terrific son of Winchester, a huge loss for our community, and we'll miss Jimmy terrifically. Condolences to his entire family. But when I first met Lance, I was running for office. It was back in 2014. I was running for the seat that Senator Lewis vacated. And he was a member of the select board, and so I went up and introduced myself and asked if he had some time. And Lance was, many people rebuff you, right? When you're running for office, they don't know who you are. We'll deal with you if you get in. Lance was gracious enough to sit down with me and talk. And I asked him, what happens if I win? I'll do the campaign. I'm not going to put you in a position, but I want to know what happens if I win. How do you govern? And it wasn't until this year when we saw the current administration take over down in Washington, D.C., that I realized how much ahead of his time Lance was. Because he said to me, Mike, you don't need a process. Just get up and wing it. There's no need for community engagement. And if you have somebody who stands in opposition, personalize it. Get away from the issue and go after them directly. I said, Lance, is that really the way? That's how I govern. That's why I'm in charge in Winchester right now. And it took me aback, but I said, great, terrific. And then I sat back and watched him, and obviously Lance is the antithesis of what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. I think we've all been the better for it. We will continue to be the better for it because, as we all know, Lance, although he steps back, never walks away and has continued his involvement in the town and continues to make this town a better place. And so I really can't think of a better person for this year to be honored by the Chamber as a Citizen of the Year than Lance Grenzeback. Thank you very much. Senator Lewis and I always go back and forth. The house is just much nicer, so. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Another person who was in the room where the MBTA meeting happened was at the time our town engineer, Beth Rudolph, and who is now our town manager. Beth Rudolph.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here this evening to support and congratulate Lance on this honor, being selected as this year's Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year. It's a well-deserved award and celebrates Lance's long history of volunteerism and leadership in our community over the past several decades. I have been personally privileged to work alongside Lance for almost all of my 20-year career here at Winchester. I started working for the town in 2004 as the assistant town engineer, and shortly thereafter Lance was elected to the planning board in spring of 2005. As assistant town engineer and then town engineer, I attended all of the planning board meetings, so we got to spend a lot of time together in those first few years. Over his 8 years on the planning board, Lance worked on a variety of projects and initiatives, from hiring the town's first town planner to updating the town's outdated subdivision regulations and filing fees, to chairing difficult discussions on various development projects that came before the town, including our favorite hearings related to the redevelopment of the Winchester Hospital facility at 620 Washington Street. As a member of the planning board, Lance was also instrumental in in obtaining funding for and developing phase 1 of the town's master plan, which focused on housing, neighborhoods, the town center, and economic development. This effort was the first time the town's master plan had completed since it was first created in the 1950s, probably when Lance was in maybe an elementary school. Lance's efforts on the planning board laid the groundwork for the changes to the town zoning bylaw in 2015 that sought to encourage housing and economic development in the town center business district. Lance was also a strong advocate, as we've heard, for the Winchester Community Rail project, which I don't think we can blame any of the current delays on Lance's leadership in that role. In a community with limited staff resources, I've always appreciated Lance's hands-on approach as an elected official and as a volunteer. He's never been afraid to get his hands dirty and to lead a new project or initiative. He's always quick with a matrix or a spreadsheet, as I think is up here on the screen, to help summarize or analyze an issue. And his insights have always pushed me to think bigger and differently, and I appreciate that. Finally, it would be hard to acknowledge Lance's service to our community without recognizing the countless hours he put in as an elected official on traffic and parking issues. These are difficult topics, particularly as we here in the Chamber of Commerce recognize. And as a member of the Select Board, Lance led the board in efforts to modernize and update our town parking regulations. Lance, I suspect after the MBTA construction is over, we might be starting that process over, so if you want to volunteer to raise your hand there. And as a token of the town's fancy wrapping here, appreciation for all of Lance's efforts. Wow.
Next on our agenda for the evening are two prior Citizens of the Year. In 2013, our 34th Citizen of the Year, Tom Howley, and in 2019, our 40th Citizen of the Year, Sally Quinn. They need no more introduction. I'll let them come on in.
Great to see everyone. You know, one thing I want to mention, and I may have missed this. Can you hear me? Yeah. I may have missed this, but and if I did, it doesn't matter because they deserve to be mentioned twice. But Jack and Peggy Roll, also Citizens of the Year. Anyway, thank you, Madam Moderator Emeritus, or Emerita. I'm always, I don't know.
I'll take anything.
But anyway, Sally and I both had the pleasure of working with Lance, here, Lance, in the corner. Time out? Is it a time out? Yeah. Anyway, we both had the good fortune of working with Lance for many years on many things. Truly, it has been, I think, something both Sally and I appreciate a lot. And so we're very grateful to be asked to speak about Lance to all of you who are here. So I'm going to turn it over to Sally. We'll kind of bounce it back and forth a little bit.
I hate to follow Howard. So where do you start with Lance? Let's talk about his name. You may not know, but you have the 726th most common name in the United States. I mean, I didn't know a lot of it, but I sure haven't known a lot like this one. Let's dig a little deeper. Like many people, I met Joan long before I met Lance, because of course her work at the school. Because Joan is no piker when it comes to helping out in town. This probably should be a combo. But I digress. We are here for Lance. But thank you, Joan, for everything you've done. It's pretty hard to navigate Winchester without running into Lance. He's everywhere. He served on many boards, one of which is the planning board. That couldn't have been 9 years, right? I think it was 9 years. One of the things, the many things we've heard about, he started updating the town's master plan, which is a huge undertaking. I can't exactly remember how I got roped into that one, but I am pretty sure it was Lance. And there's a mythical fashion, you know, the one you walk away from it and you realize you just said you would take on some job that you had no intention of taking on, and much less any skills to take it on. Well, there I was on his board. He has that effect on many people. But he doesn't just rope you in. He actually continues to outwork everyone that he assigns with a job. So he makes it fun. We were talking about parking. He used that phrase, parking is the third rail of municipal government. Yes, it is. Parking or the lack of it is so controversial that it is charged and untouchable. But not to Lance. He kept diving in. Tom will cover that, but I can't help but throwing in my 2 cents. Does that sound right? Doesn't everybody get to throw in their 2 cents? So I'm going to throw in my 2 cents. I'm always surprised at the passion surrounding parking. Take the Burlington Mall, for instance. That parking lot's pretty big. And I know that when I park my car there at Christmas, I walk a lot farther to my store than I do even if I say leave Fell's Hardware and drive and walk to Starbucks. So I don't get it. Tom will figure that one out for us. Now let's talk some really deep history. Lance was involved in the planning for the Winchester train station. It was a big job, and it was a long time ago, so it must be finished by now, right? And then also being involved in the rebirth of this wonderful farm. I can tell you that Lance was a godsend during the early years of Brightlock. Yep, Lance was one of the myriad people who worked to make this crazy farm in the middle of dense suburbs a reality. There's actually another guy over there who had some work to do on it, Tom Howley. I mean, look at this place. It's great, right? There was many a sleepless night involved in each step along the way. And Lance deserves one of the many plaques that we should have here for thank yous around the farm. Thousands and thousands of supporters we have. I just think it's great Lance wanted the celebration here. And where would the Vincent Owen School and the high school be without Lance? These are all things that make our town such a great place to live. And they don't just happen, these things. There's hard work and, as I mentioned, the charm to get others involved before they realize they said yes. So they are pillars of the type of person that he is. Lance really plays well in the sandbox.
So, as Sally has described, there are a lot of reasons why our hometown boy Lance was selected for this honor. I mean, they are truly manifest. And not just because Winchester has never had a Citizen of the Year named Lance, although we think it had something to do with that, actually. But so perhaps you're asking, well, if it's so clear that Lance should be Citizen of the Year, what took so long? And, you know, Sally and I have thought about this quite a bit, and clearly, since Lance is more qualified to be Citizen of the Year than 95% of the people who have actually received this award, and probably especially including Sally and myself, we think that the delay is either because Lance and Joan were splitting votes whenever it came up, or because after leaving townwide elective office, he never stopped volunteering. There was never like the final thing that we should recognize, right? And I think that that really does have a lot to do with it. Sally and I have, we touched on, Sally touched on kind of a long, a list of things. There's more and more that we could talk about of Lance's accomplishments, all the boards that he's been involved with over the years. And it could go on and on, blah, 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 we'd be like, talking about this all night. But we think that one thing we should really zero in on, and I'm glad that the town manager has brought this to everybody's attention, is town center parking. And we could go through the whole list of accomplishments, but we thought, what's going to keep people's interest? We'll give you a little bit of background about how the sausage is made, some of the background stories, and the town center parking is, the fact that Lance weighed into that remains inexplicable to Sally. We have no idea why anybody in their right mind would do that. And so, I think you all know this, but the town center it's like the Gordian knot, the rubric cube, the kind of 5-pound bag for 10 pounds of street parking situation, right? Merchants are hugely impacted, shoppers, residents, public employees, and perhaps the worst of all is that if you get involved in the thing, you risk ticking off a lot of older people at the Jenks Center. And you really don't want to do that. So it's dangerous. It's a dangerous thing to do. And, because I've been Lance's friend for a long time, I said, why risk it? Why do it? I mean, if it goes south, which it's going to, that, you're going to have to move your family out of town. You'll have to start over someplace else, maybe the Midwest. I don't know. And assume a new identity. I mean, it's not going to be good. And you'd never be named Citizen of the Year. I was wrong in that part, but anyway, I thought the advice was right. So I told Lance, I said, look, if you're going to do it, maybe simultaneously what you should do is you should propose closing the transfer station and replacing it with on-sidewalk pickup for just to distract people. And then once you ran the parking thing through, you can forget about it. But no, Lance wasn't doing that. He was like, no, I'm gonna do this authentically and transparently. I was like, okay, good luck. So anyway, as we suspected, turf wars emerged, unworkable ideas were proposed, things were said, and I don't even want to go into that. But Lance, you were undaunted. You wore everybody down. Everyone finally gave in to your calm, respectful manner, your rigorous analytical investigation, your well-placed self-deprecating humor, your even-handedness and endurance, and like on so many other issues that matter to us, you got us to the right place. And so this will be kind of a surprise, but we didn't mention this to you. But Sally and I nominated you for the John F. Kennedy Profile Encouragement for your work on Town Center Park. And, we just thought it would be cool. Like, he gets the Citizen of the Year award, he gets the Profile Encouragement award, it would be cool, right? But unfortunately, you were runner-up to Mike Pence. But they felt bad, and so they created a JFK profile in municipal parking curriculum, which you did with. And Caroline Kennedy asked us to tell you she's sorry she can't be here, but we do have the trophy. Here it is. We do have the trophy. say before Sally closes this out that, Lance's list of board service and specific accomplishments on behalf of our town it's really not the whole thing. In fact, I don't think it's really the thing. But it is that what Lance has done is he's given us a model of civic engagement. It's something we badly need right now, right? And I think we've been able to hang on to it in Winchester, and we need to keep investing in it. And we need people who, in fact, act that out all the time, whenever they are representing us in public, whenever they engage us. And so his thoughtful, respectful, critical thinking, he's also always collaborative, he's self-effacing. I think all of us know this about Lance. It's like, this is ringing true, I am sure, with all of you. He listens authentically. He brings humor when it's most needed and appreciated. He's patient with the rest of us, when God knows we need that. He does his homework. He's always open to a better idea than his own. He puts the town first. He loves the town. He's from the town. He's of the town, and he puts the town first. And I believe all of that makes Lance among the most effective in Winchester's long tradition of talented community volunteers. And so we can say firsthand that when you get to work with Lance, Sally and I both were talking about this, you can count yourself being pretty lucky, because the outcome's going to be a lot better, and it's going to be a heck of a lot more fun doing it. And so while many things have changed in our community since Lance has grown up, one of the things that hasn't changed is his character and his commitment to Winchester, and we really appreciate that, Lance. A great deal.
30 seconds, Madam Moderator. Tom and I have already touched on some of Lance's contribution. It's obvious that Lance has done a lot. We're lucky he grew up here, and we're lucky he stayed. But what I like about Lance is when you bump into him on the street, at a party, at a town event or a meeting, he always greets you with that warm smile and makes you feel like you just made his day. He always has something interesting to say, maybe something you haven't thought about, or maybe just greetings of the day. I always walk away from a Lance encounter with a smile on my face, and I bet you will do too. Here's to Lance Grenzeback, a well-deserved recipient of the 2025 Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year.
All right, and now moving on to our next article of town meeting. Oh wait, sorry. That's moderator. Well, I guess it's town meeting. For what purpose do you rise?
Stephanie Mignardi, Precinct 5. I rise on behalf of the Town Meeting Members Association to move that the Town of Winchester establish the Town Meeting Member of the Month and nominate Lance as its first recipient. Second? Any seconds?
All right, so here we go. All in favor of a discussion?
Aye.
Very well, the floor is open.
Madam Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Rowan.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Richard Rowan, Precinct 2. I rise in strong support of the motion, but I believe Mr. Grenzeback should be awarded Winchester's best mustache.
Well, now that is very true, but I'm afraid that motion is out of order. What does it have to do with town government?
Okay, well, I'd like to make a different amendment, Madam Moderator. With all due respect to the previous town meeting members, town meeting member of the month, please. This is like giving a kazoo to Wynton Marcellus or Miles Davis. After all, Lance, as we've heard, rewrote Winchester's master plan the first update in over 30 years. clearly he deserves the title of the strategic sage of Winchester. And when we heard, and when we faced as a town in 2019 override, Lance didn't just lead the charge. He whipped up a spreadsheet that became a town-wide legend. There were 48 versions of that town moderator, how many members? 48 versions. And he loved every one of them.
Madam Moderator,
Proceed, Mrs. Savage.
thank you. Madam Moderator, Carol Savage, Precinct 5, and I write to support, but amend the amendment. It's true he's a sage.
Please let her finish. Please let her finish.
It's true he's a sage, but I propose that we award Lance the spreadsheet samurai and Gadfather of Winchester. Why? Because, well, once I brought this chart I worked really hard on to a meeting. I was so proud of it. And I was happy because Lance said, nice work. Next morning, he sends it back. Interactive, color-coded, Gantt chart version with footnotes, projections, hyperlinks. It was like I did a finger painting and he did a Monet. Lance doesn't just listen, you all know this, he decodes. You can almost see the steam coming out of his brain. Yep. And continuous improvement, I mean continuous. Sometimes he even revises his own versions. V2, V3, V4. He's the only person we know who can argue with himself and win. Doug? Where's Doug?
Let me guess. You have a version 4?
Exactly. I suggested he be given the title of the honorary farm of Winchester. When this farm, this land that we're on right now, was threatened with dense development, Lance was instrumental in preserving this land. I want to put the emphasis on honorary, because I don't really think that Lance is a farmer. If you gave him a pitchfork, he'd be dangerous. But if you asked him to design a chicken coop, he'd research it and he'd come up with a great design.
Point of order, Madam Moderator.
Now what, Mr. Lemenager?
Jack Lemenager, Precinct 6. I rise to add a further amendment to the day. We'd like to nominate Lance to be the transit whisperer. As our previous speakers have said in quite detail, kind of stole my lines. When he was a select board member, he stepped forward and led the ad hoc committee to push MBTA to get this train station done. As we all know, it's not done yet. 15 years later. That was ancient history when that was founded. So ancient that the distinguished Jason Lewis was a state rep at that time. And in addition to that, as you also heard, he undertook the unenviable task of trying to straighten out downtown parking. Anyhow, to cut it short, Lance is our own, very own public transportation superstar, transit whisperer.
Madam Moderator, I rise to the final proposal, which I'll actually read. I move to call this award the Legendary Listener. After decades in town meeting, planning board, and the select board, Lance still wasn't done. With minimal coercion from Carol Savage, he agreed to chair the Communications Study Committee and outlined the entire work plan on a napkin during a 30-minute coffee. Now he's modernizing town meeting communications as chair of the TMMA. Does he ever sleep? Or does he just lie in bed, imagining more efficient meeting workflows?
All right. We've now amended this motion more times than Lance has rewritten committee drafts. Let's recap here. You've proposed the strategic sage of Winchester, the spreadsheet samurai and Gantt father of Winchester, the honorary farmer of Winchester, the transit whisperer, and the legendary listener. But perhaps may your moderator make a friendly amendment that the one that says it all is Citizen of the Year. All in favor? Aye. Lance, we thank you for your vision, your patience, your spreadsheets, your models, and your endless revisions. Congratulations. You are the Citizen of the Year.
Thank you all. I'm Carol Savage, I'm Vice Chair of the Town Meeting Members Association, and that was fun. I want to give a big thank you to those who played a role in our skit cast, Doug Martin, Stephanie Minyarji, Jackie Mendenay, Rich Johans, Steve Engel, and moderator extraordinaire Heather Von Mary. Current and former board members of the MMA here tonight, as well as the many town meeting members and elected officials in the room, former and current. You've each contributed to what makes Winchester such a special community. It is often said that town meeting is democracy in its purest form. It's very easy to complain about government, even local government. It's a lot harder to roll up your sleeves and make it work. No one embodies that more than Lance. The Town Meeting Members Association, founded by Lance in 2023, was created to help make our democracy work better through engagement, thoughtful discussion, and smarter decisions. That has been Lance's mission from the start. Before we wrote our skit, our board had a conversation. What comes to mind when you think of Lance? There were a few light-hearted classics, his eagle eye for typos and grammar, his talent for diagramming anything, and then there were the number of us that he's mentored, or at least attempted to, and of course, the coffee. How many coffee meetings can one man have? I don't know how much coffee you drink, Lance, but I bet many of you here have had coffee with Lance. Yeah. So honestly, a strong cup of coffee is a phrase that we've all heard Lance use very often, and it's a pretty good symbol for Lance. First, there's the stimulating part of coffee, the kind that jumpstarts that analytical powerhouse of a brain. As the saying goes, behind every successful person is a substantial amount of coffee. Thomas Jefferson called it the favorite drink of the civilized world. I prefer the simpler version. Coffee is the best thing in life because it brings people together. Winchester is a better place because of our coffee shops. Thank you to the Chamber for honoring those who do bring people together and go above and beyond for our community. And Lance, thank you for every single cup, every conversation, and every effort to bring people together to make Winchester better. And on that note, Lance, I have something for you too. A mug. So, okay, the first coffee. And I found the good stuff. Oh, and a hat. Oh, I stole the mic, sorry.
I don't know, I have a voice I can carry the room right now. Lance's contributions to the community extended beyond the boundaries of Winchester, but also on a more global level professionally. Lance has worked with the Boston firm of David E. Crane and Partners, focusing on planning, urban design, and developmental projects, which you can tell deeply impacted Winchester. Arthur D. Little Inc. projects include the overhaul and automation of fare collection programs for the New York Metropolitan Transportation Authority subway, bus, and commuter rail systems. As MBTA work he did for us as well. And also creating national policies and programs for smart vehicles and smart highways, and most recently joined Cambridge Systematics Inc., a consulting firm specializing in transportation, policy planning, and management. Today, we have the honor of another person Lance was a mentor to, CEO of Cambridge Systematics Inc., Brad Wright.
Well, hasn't this been very nice, Lance? Everybody's been so polite and...
His time has run out.
Yeah, your time has run out. I'm Brad Wright, longtime colleague of Lance's and longtime Winchester resident. My wife, Joanna, who's in the back, grew up in Winchester. And super excited to celebrate Lance tonight, see Joan again, it's been a while, and meet the kids. I haven't met the kids yet, actually. So Lance and I have worked together dating back to the early 90s. Long time. At a company called Cambridge Systematics, we do transportation planning work for government agencies. Sounds a lot like what Lance has been doing in the town of Winchester. And Lance was a Harvard guy, and I knew early in my career, because of course he told me he was a Harvard guy. He's a Harvard guy. This isn't going to be as forgiving, but I was a Northeastern co-op student when I started at Cambridge Systematics. And so I debated whether to include this in my remarks, but now I'm full on to it. You were not bright enough to avoid parking in Winchester. Harvard is where kids go that can't get into Northeastern. So Lance and I worked together on a lot of projects over the years, probably almost 20 years, actually, Lance. And if you've seen Lance's bio sketch in the program tonight, you heard a lot about his work for the Peace Corps, building cities in Egypt, reports to Congress. Nothing about the projects he did with Brad Wright at Cambridge Systematics. Some very hard-hitting, impactful work in hotspots like Topeka, Kansas, Augusta, Maine. I mean, let's remember the little people of Augusta, Maine, Lance. In all seriousness, so if you've had the opportunity to work with Lance, he's an incredibly bright, creative guy. He's a planner by nature. Just very good at coming up with solutions. You've seen all the graphics here. And there's no problem that can't be solved with a framework. I brought one here from one of the many reports. He's probably used this like 100 times over. The 2x2 matrix that looks at impact versus cost. You've probably seen this in a lot of town meetings.
Yep.
But Lance made it famous. Actually, it was a BCG, Boston Consulting framework. But it's his night, so let's go with that. So I was told I had 3 minutes. I'm going to keep it close to 3 minutes. I was speaking to a group of young planners at Cambridge Systematics probably about a month ago. We have a mentoring program. And I was asked to talk about people who have been mentors over the course of my career. And Lance is right at the top of that list. He, for whatever reason, took some degree of personal interest in me and many other people at our company who've done well over time and really helped us to hone our consulting skills, apply the 2x2 matrix, and I can't say enough. I don't think I ever really thanked you for this, Lance, but consider it done tonight. I will say that I'm not surprised that Lance is getting this award. He's obviously, as all of you have articulated, he's very well deserving of this award. Somebody said earlier that he has spent countless hours working for the town of Winchester. I've actually been counting those hours. As my role at the company changed over time, I became more in touch with the financials. And I would notice, I'm going to embellish a little, Lance here. I would notice when I came into Lance's office that he was often looking at maps of the town of Winchester, reports from the town of Winchester. I know for a fact, Winchester's never written a check to Cambridge Systematics. And so with that, I'm not going to do a mic drop, but you're welcome. Lance, congratulations. This is a well-deserved honor, and enjoy the evening. Well done.
Many in this room know Lance's volunteer work with Winchester's government. That we now know a lot about his professional world. But he also made contributions to the Winchester Community Music School and is a musician himself. Lance currently serves as the chair of the Board of Trustees for the Winchester Community Music School on behalf of the WCMS, their Executive Director, Lori Russell.
Hi, everyone. I am happy to share some other sides of Lance with you here this evening. And so, as Heather mentioned, thank you, Heather, that Lance currently serves as the chair of our Board of Trustees. And whenever asked how he ended up as our board chair after serving only 1 year as a trustee, I refer back to that familiar childhood game of musical chairs and say he wasn't quick enough to sit back down when the music stopped. That being said, the trustees of WCMS knew that Lance would be fully capable of serving as its next chair due to his business acumen, which you just heard about, and not to mention all of the significant contributions to our town as a civic leader and volunteer. In fact, Lance has been just the person we need at this point in WCMS's history to move our building expansion from the planning stage to final board approval, getting us to shovels in the ground just last month. So you may be wondering how Lance ended up volunteering at WCMS. Lance first became part of the WCMS community as a parent of a young oboe student, and he grew up playing the French horn and played well into his early adulthood. However, he has shared a story that he quickly learned that carrying a French horn case was not as convenient for traveling as he preferred, so he sought out something smaller, the recorder. It's quite portable, and it was the recorder that brought him back to the music school later in life to study with our fabulous recorder teacher, Roy Sampson. Lance comes to WCMS every Tuesday for his recorder lesson with Roy, and also plays in our adult learner recorder ensemble. Lance also meets with me every Tuesday to check in on the school's business. This is when I discovered Lance's knack for PowerPoint. He is exceptional at creating those slide decks that inform our board about what has been accomplished, what's coming next, and what key decisions need to be made at that moment. The past 6 months have been very busy and productive with Lance as our board chair. During this time, the trustees approved the final construction budget, signed the AIA contract with our builder, obtained the building permit from the town, then that reignited our capital campaign, and secured construction financing with a local financial institution. Our groundbreaking ceremony was a momentous occasion that Lance emceed just last month in mid-April. And Lance will be the board chair when WCMS's new concert hall and additional programming space opens in the summer of 2026. On behalf of the WCMS trustees, faculty, and the admin team, we congratulate you on your well-deserved Citizen of the Year honor. Thank you for all you do for WCMS and the greater Winchester community.
So you have heard about his government service, his professional service, his nonprofit service. But did you know that Lance also also had time to be connected to his neighborhood alongside his wife, Joan, who is also a force in Winchester, worthy of recognition. Please welcome their tried and true neighborhood friends, Susan McPhee, Alan Moss.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan McPhee. And I am Helen Wilson. Lance Grenzeback has been a friend and neighbor for 35 years.
25 years here.
A long time.
Lance is a very consistent person.
How consistent is he?
Did you know Lance was born and raised, grew up one block from where he currently lives and from where he raised his family? He went all the way to Cambridge for college, but then when it was time to raise a family, he came right back.
Come to think of it, Lance is very consistent. He has put up the same holiday decoration every year for 40 years. At Halloween, there's the fabulous garbage bag rule. A garbage bag stretched over the lamppost. And for Christmas, his famous green lights on a stick Christmas tree.
That is so smart. Recycling the same decorations for 40 years. Ellen, what do you think the smartest thing Lance has ever done?
His wicked smartest move was marrying Joan. Fun fact. One thing they had in common was their service work overseas. Joan started her teaching career in Puerto Rico, and Lance worked for the Peace Corps in Iran.
And that was just the start of their lifetime together giving back. Town meeting, high school guidance counselor, the Jinx board, Right Left Farm board, and all of Lance's town boards. Joan and Lance have a combined 80 years of service to Winchester.
"80 years, that's nothing. Did you know that their cat Sophie lived to be 168 cat years?
Wow, speaking of big numbers, while Lance was on the planning board and the select board, the town built so many projects. An addition to McCall, a new Vincent Owen, another addition to McCall, a start of the renovation of the high school, and another addition to McCall.
And Lance is responsible for a community resource that required 0 committee meetings. The little free library in their front yard.
Congratulations, Joan and Lance.
Job
well done. Winchester thanks you.
So now we get to do a sing-along. I hope everyone is ready. I passed around the sing-along. I'm going to let Carol have the mic for this.
Where are you, Shoe Pump? You want to come up here?
Anyone want to join in?
She's getting her accordion ready.
Sally will do it. Sally.
Yeah, anybody who likes to sing, come on up here.
Singers
You
of the
can be our choir. While they're getting here, I forgot to show the story about the 30-minute meeting where Lance planned a year's work plan. I have a picture of it. That's a true story. This was 30 minutes on a map from Johnny. One copy. All right, so everybody has the words? Okay. You know,
I'm going to give you a very sophisticated warm-up. The libretto is fee, fi, fiddly-I-O.
I've been working on the railroad. That's the tune. Lance is always ready to go. All right. Lance is working on town government all the live long day. Lance is working on town government just to guide the town our way. Don't you hear the wheels a turning right after coffee in the morn? Can't you see the numbers swirling? What will we all learn? Lance will get it done. Lance will get it done if the town's got problems. He's the one. Lance will get it done. Lance will get it done. And Winchester will have fun. Lance is diving into the details till the answers start to show. Lance is on the corner of the big plan till it's ready, set, go. We're singing fee-fi, fiddly-I-O, fee-fi, fiddly-I-O, fee-fi, fiddly-I-O. Lance is always ready to go.
Working alongside Lance, those in this room know that there is one thing more precious than his coffee meetings, his family. It is my honor to welcome Rob Grenzeback, his son, to share some words on behalf of his family.
Some of you may recognize me as Lost Boy number 3, the 1994 production of Peter Pan. I had one line, and I think I nailed it every time. So in that vein, I decided to keep it short. I think that's how my dad would prefer. At a meeting, he always said, people go on and on and on and on, and just get to the point. So, yeah, and actually, everyone here pretty much stole what I had been brainstorming about saying. Even the parking sign. I was going to say, he doesn't even get a parking spot for this. I'd like to propose that he be included in the Winchester Town Day dunk tank. I think that, as a child growing up in Winchester, that always seemed like the highest honor. So, yeah, I think we're at the point of the night where everyone wants to get it over with. So, we'll say congratulations. We're proud of you as a family. We love you. And I'm going to nominate my mom for Citizen of the Year 2026.
Definitely on point for you guys. Nice and quick. I was one of the many lucky ones who got a front seat row to so many of your leadership accomplishments for Winchester. But I want to recognize that as Lance was a mentor and friend to many of us, he also gave others space to lead and was a true supporter of their own accomplishments. The demolition delay bylaw, the Center Business District rezoning, working to get the planning board more staff, funding for the Historical Commission's documentation of historical resources, One Winchester, town meeting articles for many other boards and committees, chamber initiatives, the many electoral campaigns, in the freezing rain he stood out to support. Parking, and yes, he is very much there in 2019 and 2020 for the master plan of 2030, the master plan I like to call it. Because today's Lance work or maybe a better word is planning methodology, is used as a high standard for the next state of the town committee, the next master plan, the next MBTA renovation. Oh wait, we're still working on that last one. The TMMA, and how we can move forward with better communication as a community. His print is throughout Winchester and will have a lasting effect. It is with a great honor to welcome to the stage the one, the only, Lance Grenzeback.
Thank you all. I must congratulate all the presenters. They've made that history sound much more interesting than I recall. In preparation for tonight, I tracked down Peter Haley, who turns out to be sampling Guinness in Dublin. And I asked him, as the prior moderator, what time should I put on my talk? And he said 10 minutes maximum. And then I checked with Heather, and she said 5 minutes maximum. And I decided I'd stop there and wouldn't ask Philip about that. But anyway, so I will admit, I think, that I've never intended to spend so much time on boards, and town committees. In fact, I once resolved to stay clear of town government entirely. That was back when Winchester High School had a low-power radio station, as in 5 to 10 watts, and maybe listen to 5 to 10 households. Now, you could get students then to staff the broadcast booth for football games, but covering town meeting, no, that was another story. However, incentives were provided. If you volunteered to cover town meeting, you could skip a class quiz or a homework. That was really fun. I thought, I'll do it. So I did. So I can't recall the year, probably best that way, but that evening the select board reported that the town was running out of money. The town meeting then launched into an hour-long argument over a motion to save money by firing all town employees who did not live in Winchester. So high school, so I thought the arguments were really weird, but fortunately that one lost. And the meeting went on and on and on and on. And then, about 11 p.m., maybe 11:30, there was another hour-long argument about whether to raise the parking meter rates from 5 to 10 cents. I can't remember what they voted, but the debate was even weirder. I do remember thinking at the time, however, that if this was how adults spent their evenings week after week, twice a year, I wanted nothing to do with it. I resolved to stay away from parking, town finances, and town meeting. You'll see a pattern here. I made good on my resolution until about 2005, when I found myself complaining to Peter Van Aken, who had been a board chair, select board member for a bunch of years. I said, you know, the town was just muddling along, running out of money every year. There were many hardworking boards and committees, but they never seemed to talk to each other, and there was no vision for the future. Peter said, okay, let's run for planning board and use that as a platform change. He said, it'll be fun, and you'll get to campaign at the dump in a sleet storm in March. We ran and won. There were 4 candidates running for planning board that year, likely a town record. And I really felt like a high after I got elected. That was the first time I was elected to public office. And I bumped into a couple of friends outside, and they said, oh, we thought we were voting for Joan. And as an aside, for those of you whose spouses also serve in town meeting, yes, she does keep track. She does keep count, and right now I think it's about 3-2 in her favor. We did get a fair amount done. We updated the master plan, got the boards to talk to each other, set about revitalizing the town center. But then I forgot my earlier resolve and took on the task of, as you heard, overhauling the town center, parking. It worked. I lived to tell about it, but let me suggest that once was enough. The select board years that followed were interesting. Tom Howley told me that serving on the select board would be fun, and it would only take a few hours a week. Richard Howard, Beth Rudolph, and a cast of characters all said, oh, by God, that's true. We swear to it. Now, the Right Lock Farm tonight and the Skilling's Field Ventures worked out, but as for the other 1,000 things we dealt with, well, I hear rumors that the MBTA rail station will be finished. Where's Mike? And for those of you who want to stay late, I will regale you with a tale of the visit that Jason Lewis, Link Day, and I paid to the MBTA board and the Secretary of Transportation. It was an interesting day. Like that. But somewhere in those 6 years on the select board, I forgot my second resolve, which is to stay clear of town financing issues, right? Debates. We started a State of the Town initiative, worked on an override. That goes like this. Hi, I'm here for the select board to tell you how to raise your taxes. Those were really great meetings, I love them. Sam and Mariana Golubov reminded me last week that we went through 46 spreadsheet versions of the town budget, about one a week over the whole year, looking for the magic number. And Sam will tell you what the magic number was later this evening. At any rate, it worked. I lived to tell about it, but once again, once was enough. I'm sure that the select board and the FinCom, where's Michelle and the RSCF, I'm sure they'll enjoy this next cycle as much as I did. So.
Can't wait.
After I left the select board, I failed my third resolve, which was to stay clear of town meeting. Town meeting and commissioned, as you've heard mentioned, a communications study. Carol Savage, Jack, Peter Haley, Heather, a cast of other characters who I won't name. Where's Carol? And Tara, yeah, work on it. They all said, why don't you chair this committee? It'll be fun, it'll only take a few hours a week. Well, I admit it was interesting. One of the questions that the committee asked residents was, do you know your town meeting representative? And one of the more frequent responses was, what's town meeting? That triggered the formation of the Town Meeting Members Association, and there's lots of work to be done to ensure that people know what town meeting is and how it works, but we seem to be making slow progress, although learning, Doug and I have gone back to how to program things like that. So you may ask, after all this, despite your early resolutions pattern in this, why the hell did you spend so much time on town stuff? So I'll say two short, reasonably incentives. First, I think there's great value in your town meeting form of local government. And I must say, in my work and travels, I've had what I would describe as close encounters with regimes in Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Egypt, and Russia, and elsewhere, whose idea of local governments is very different, I would tell you. At best repressive and at worst damn dangerous. And sort of, they make our town meeting form of government, even when you're a high school student, look really good by comparison. And I think it's well worth the time spent to make it work and make it work well. And the second thing, the second excuse I guess I'll use for having spent so much time on this was the fact that Winchester's boards, committees, town staff, civic groups, and people, I found they're staffed by a very bright and very creative set of people who basically spend a lot of time making this community work and making it work well. And I found it mostly a very positive experience to work with all of you. So thank you very much for the award and for coming tonight. Appreciate it.